As he uncovered link after link, he realized that he'd found what looked like a chain. The deeper he dug and the more of it he unearthed, the deeper the mystery became. A chill ran through his body as he began to pull. Terrified and shaking, he called the police when he saw what was on the other end. But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. It was a rainy day like any other when Mike headed outside. While pursuing his hobby, he had become accustomed to being outside in all kinds of weather, including gray and rainy weather, so it didn't bother him in the least. He enjoyed swinging his metal detector back and forth as he walked, never knowing what he might find. It was a calming, peaceful experience. This time is no different. That is until his metal detector started screeching. Everyone gets excited by the idea of finding buried treasure, especially children. There are any number of children's games that involve trying to find something hidden. Who doesn't love playing hide and seek or going on Easter egg hunts? There is a special kind of thrill in finding something hidden after spending so much time trying to find it. This kind of thrill is part of why Mike enjoyed his hobby so much, though he never would have expected what he was about to find. The thrill of finding something that has long been buried under the ground and forgotten. You never know what you might find. This was the situation Mike was about to find himself in on this rainy day. Mike felt his heart start racing as his metal detector started to beep. What had just found? An old coin? A simple metal can? Not in his wildest dreams would Mike have guessed what he had just stumbled across. Mike has always been somewhat of a history buff. That is why the thought of what he found that day is something that excites him to this day. The idea of unearthing something that had been buried for so long was unthinkable. Out of everything that he has ever discovered, this particular discovery will always be his favorite. As a lover of history, Mike never imagined he would ever find such an amazing historical object. Generally, it's not uncommon to find people shopping, reading, playing games, or watching TV in their spare time. Some people have more uncommon hobbies such as painting, the theater, or fishing. Mike had an even more unique hobby. Mike is a detectorist. That's the name for people like Mike who like to search for objects with a metal detector. He spends days on beaches or in fields just looking to see what he might find. Mike doesn't often find anything very big or terribly important. However, the hobby is an addictive one that keeps Mike coming back again and again. Mike searches areas that he thinks have a relatively high chance of success, as much as he has to deal with letdowns and not finding anything. Sometimes, though, he gets lucky and all his hard work pays off in the end. Nothing else has ever paid off as much as this day would. However, not many people are willing to brave the elements the way that Mike has to on occasion. Mike is outside in everything from sunshine to rain and snow to pursue his hobby. This is the nature of the hobby. The weather in Pembrokeshire in the United Kingdom where Mike lives is often very rainy and wet. This means that much of his time is spent in the cold and wet while he searches for lost treasures. Not only do detectorists have to brave all kinds of terrain and weather, they also have to deal with a lot of disappointment as they rarely find anything of value. Often they merely find junk or trash. Mike hadn't had much luck in the area. The old pennies that he often dug up were naturally not of much value. However, Mike's luck was about to change, and in a very big way. This would be a day to remember. Mike often visited a specific field with his metal detector, but a week of steady rain had left it completely waterlogged. Disappointed, he realized he needed to search elsewhere. Choosing another field at random, Mike set out despite the gloomy weather. Equipped and ready, Mike began his usual search pattern through the rain-soaked field. After some time sweeping the field, his metal detector let out a familiar beep. Confused, Mike suspected equipment failure. Still, something compelled him to press on. Driven by curiosity, Mike decided to dig. What could be buried there? Switching to a trowel, Mike unearthed a round, rusted chunk of metal. Intrigued, he cleared more dirt away to reveal what the object truly was. Using his hands, he tried to pull it free, but it wouldn't budge. Despite multiple attempts, the object remained stuck. Refusing to give up, Mike began digging around it, hoping to loosen it from the soil. As he dug further, he discovered the object was connected to something else. It felt like part of a larger structure buried deep beneath the ground. He uncovered a second iron link, then a third. A chain was emerging from the earth, and it seemed endless. Realization dawned: it was a chain, long and mysterious, buried in this random field. What could it be attached to? Mike was determined to find out. As night began to fall, visibility faded. Reluctantly, he knew he had to abandon the dig until morning. He hardly got some shut-eye that same night, and he told only his closest friends about what he saw. Mike came up with several theories about what he might find connected to that rusty old chain. That night, his dreams were filled with all the crazy and scary possibilities of this find. He slept restlessly, part of him just eager to get back out there and solve the mystery. Could there be something terrible down there? Mike was starting to get worried that he was not uncovering something unique and awesome, but rather something that someone did not want to be discovered. There were many possible explanations for what he had found, and not all of them seemed good. The thought that he might be disturbing something that wasn't meant to be uncovered began to weigh on him. Mike remembered reading about ancient burial sites hidden beneath Pembrokeshire. The idea unsettled him, and he hoped this wasn't one of them. Still, he couldn't shake his growing anxiety. He thought of the legends tied to Pembrokeshire tales from the Mabinogion, filled with magical beings and strange occurrences. At first light, Mike returned to the field. He had no idea his digging would soon attract the attention of officials, but as he unearthed more of the strange object, the day took an unexpected turn. Mike resumed digging with renewed focus, but an uneasy feeling lingered. Then his trowel struck a smooth surface. Brushing away the dirt, he uncovered something brown and solid. It sent a chill through him. He recognized what it might be and knew immediately that he had to call someone. He could no longer handle this alone. As a metal detecting enthusiast, Mike was familiar with the laws around discovery, but he had never imagined he'd uncover something that required him to call the authorities. What had started as a fun hobby now turned serious. He had stumbled upon human remains. The implications were staggering, and he suddenly felt far out of his depth. He contacted the National Museum of Wales first. To his disbelief, they laughed. Mike had expected many reactions, but not this. They didn't believe a word of it. Mike needed to convince them that he was telling the truth, so he dropped that he had reason to believe that there were human remains there. As soon as he said this, they changed their attitude in no time. The news that there were remains turned his story from something amusing into something sinister and serious that had to be investigated one way or another. But what would they uncover when they did? Mike waited anxiously for authorities to arrive. Though still skeptical, they were also concerned. The implications of what Mike claimed to have found couldn't be ignored. He led them to the site, and the look on their faces said it all. They finally understood the gravity of what he had uncovered. That June, the excavation officially began. Archaeologists soon uncovered 2 rusted iron chariot wheels. Confirming the find was not only legitimate but historically significant, it was a Celtic chariot burial site. Mike had stumbled across an entire chariot buried for centuries. Although such burials weren't unheard of in ancient Europe, finding one intact was rare. "My first find was a Celtic horse harness junction piece," Mike told reporters. His friends doubted he'd top it until he returned the next day and found even more. Digging just 8 inches deep, Mike found additional artifacts: a brooch, bronze bridle fittings, and tool handles. Many were corroded green, but the red enamel on the bronze bits still shone. He handled each item with extreme care, aware of their potential value and historical significance. "This is unprecedented," Mike said. Underneath the chariot, there's still a 3-meter metal anomaly. Based on similar finds, it could be weapons or even treasure. His discovery hinted at something much larger. While burial chariots had been found across Europe, this was the first ever discovered in the United Kingdom. Mike never imagined he'd be part of something so extraordinary. "I still can't believe it," he said. "I've read about other finds, watched them on TV. I always hoped it would happen to me. It still feels surreal." He credited instinct for the find. "I'd read about chariot burials and just wished it could have been me. Now, at Island, it's a privilege." After the discovery, the site was granted legal protection to prevent looting. Under local laws, Mike was required to report and surrender everything he found, even those from before the official excavation began. Mike complied fully with the regulations, handing over all 34 items. They were sold to the museum, and he was fairly compensated. He also split the profit with the landowner, as required. The National Museum of Wales quickly expressed interest in acquiring the artifacts. The discovery had become a sought-after national treasure. Mike couldn't believe that what started as a regular day became something he'd remember forever. He never imagined that when his favorite field was flooded, he would make a choice that would lead to something like this. A museum spokesperson described the site as a major Iron Age discovery that could lead to a much larger research project. Full excavation and analysis will help us understand the importance of the site, which now enjoys full legal protection. They added that the excavation was conducted jointly with Dyft Archaeological Trust and funded partly by CADW. This is now an ongoing treasure case. We are working with partners to fully investigate the site and develop a broader museum initiative. Mike from Milford Haven understood how rare his find was. "It's rare to find one in such good condition, rare to find it all," he said. The more they uncovered, the more fascinating it became. The treasure case remains open, with press statements issued jointly by authorities. Mike's discovery has generated intense interest across the archaeological community and beyond. Mike has been passionate about metal detecting since the age of 12, when his father gifted him his first detector. This discovery, he said, is dedicated to his 79-year-old father, John Smith, who is currently receiving palliative care following a stroke.